Hello, folks. How we doing? Welcome to the March 20th edition of the Go with the Flow NHL podcast. Nick Phillips here, joined by my line mates Kevin Bartman. Kevin, how we doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
All right, all right. And pass it along as well to Danny Carrots Merritts. How we doing, bud? Up in Minnesota?
Not bad. It's starting to feel like spring, so I'm happy.
Yeah, boys. Well, speaking of spring, Tampa Bay, absolute wagon, shocking absolutely nobody. Probably before the year, but they're, the 2019 President's Trophy winners of this year. Already clinched it with, I believe, 10 games to go. Or no, they've got 9 games left, but they've hit 116 points through 73 games, and they've already clinched the President's Trophy. Another quick note from Tampa clinching the President's Trophy is Steven Stamkos actually in that game where they clinched registered career goal number 384, which broke Vinny Lecavier's franchise record for most goals scored by a Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think it's also safe to say now that Nikita Kucherov is going to be your Hart Trophy winner for League MVP. He is currently still number one in the NHL with 117 points, followed by Connor McDavid at 105 and Patty Kane at 101. Those are the only 3 guys over 100, but Kucherov's the best player right now on the best team, and he's got a sizable lead, and we'll talk about the Hawks specifically later, I think, but I don't see Edmonton or Chicago getting in the playoffs, so I think it's safe to say, he's your MVP. But, boys, any initial thoughts? Whoever wants to start first on just Tampa Bay just clinching this. I think a lot of people expected it. Obviously, they were the Cup favorites going into the year, but they've clinched the President's Trophy with 9 to go, which is kind of preposterous. But
yeah, there's meeting expectations and then there's exceeding them, and Tampa's certainly exceeded the already outrageous, sort of expectations that they were that they had. Like you said, projected to be Cup winners at the beginning of the season, and holy shit, they just don't lose to anyone. And Kucherov just can't be stopped. It's absurd. I saw a stat the other day where even if you take away his goals, he's still 13th in the league in points, just off of his assists, which is fucking bananas. So, credit to him with his, season. And Stammer, Stammer's a guy that I've always enjoyed watching. He's been one of my favorite players since he came into the league. To be honest, in 2015, I was a little sad for him. Obviously, I was super happy that the Hawks won, as I sit here in my room, literally wearing my 2015 T-shirt and hat. Close the yearbook, Dan. Stammer was one of those guys I was like, shit, that sucks. That guy lost. If there's ever a year for him to do it and the rest of the Lightning, this is certainly the year. I just hope that they are able to keep up the tremendous pace that they've been on all season. And to be honest, I really don't see why they wouldn't be able to keep it up. So people have been waiting for them to slow down, and they haven't. So, Kev, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I've been one of those people that's been waiting for him to slow down or maybe run out of gas, and they just really haven't. I guess a large part of that is because of Nikita Kucherov. He's just been, light years in front of everyone else. He's without a doubt the MVP, Hart Trophy winner. I don't see a scenario, even if the Hawks made the playoffs, I don't think King gets it because Kucherov's just been that good. They're just showing no signs of slowing down. They're clicking on all cylinders. Goaltending's still hot. Vasilevsky's really good, obviously. So I agree, Dan. If there's a year to do it, it's got to be this year. Then if it doesn't happen, then I really don't know what you do because, I don't know how much better this team can get. It's just it maybe comes down to a matter of maybe managing your managing energy and your workload throughout the season. But that's really tough to judge. So I would say that it's got to be this year, or really I don't know what else they could do more.
Yeah, really, it does. So totally agree with that.
I got a little name for you guys, a little fun name. Jarmo Kekalainen. How about that, folks? Because the Columbus Blue Jackets right now are sitting in that second wild card spot, and So either you miss the playoffs if Montreal is able to catch you, or you have to go against that buzzsaw that is Tampa. Not to pick on Yarmo again, as we did a couple episodes ago. But, yeah, the way Tampa's playing right now, they've got an absolutely dynamic forward group, led by Stammer and Kucherov and Braden Point. Vasilevsky is playing unbelievably well on the empty net goal last night against the Yotes. He had an unbelievable saucer pass assist. Which was it was stupid good. Like, it's like, what can't the fucking guy do? So you got Vasilevsky's probably going to win the Vezina. Kucherov's going to win the Hart. And then, the D corps that they trot out are absolutely fantastic with Sergachev and Hedman and McDonough and Strawman. Yeah, just absolutely ridiculous the way they're playing right now. But, yeah, Columbus, though, hate to pick on them again, but, man, you go all in, you push your chips all in, and I mean, you're going to lose to Tampa in the first round if you make it. Probably. I mean, never say never, but I think we can all agree Columbus beating Tampa without home ice would be a hell of an upset. But
right. The good news for them, though, is they're not far behind some of the other playoff spots. They're only a point behind Carolina, who's in the second wild card spot. And I can certainly see Columbus playing well, not only playing well against the Islanders, but it's certainly a better chance of beating them. And then actually they're only four points behind Pittsburgh. Either way, it's going to be tough for the Jackets because you either have to play, as of right now, Tampa. You would play the Islanders in the first wild card spot, or you would play Washington, a rematch of last year. So the third place is a little bit further out of reach. Obviously, with only 10 games left and 4 points behind, they're going to need some help with Pittsburgh, losing, and they need to win, obviously. So if they can just get into that first wild card spot, I think they'll just their chances of winning a series will just go up tremendously. And that, and I would still say that they're less likely to win against the Islanders, but at least it's not like an outright, smell you later if they play Tampa.
Yeah, no doubt. I still can't believe they did it, but I guess they have to live with it. So yeah, obviously we talked about some individual accolades from a few members of the Lightning there. So congrats to the Tampa Bay organization, their fan base, for all the success they've had. A guy we talked about a couple of weeks ago for some different reasons, also just talked about the Islanders as well, is JT, Johnny Tavares from the Toronto Maple Leafs, the mecca of hockey, if you will. Might surprise a lot of people, for how big of a name he is, number one overall pick, all that good stuff. But he actually just notched 40 tucks for the first time in his NHL career. His 40th goal was also career point number 700. I believe in the past, Tavares has had in the upper 30s. I think he had a 37-goal year and a 38-goal season, but this is the first time he's hit 40. Obviously, this is probably the best forward group he's ever been a part of and probably the best team. But, yeah, any quick thoughts on JT? Were you guys surprised to kind of learn that this was the first time he'd hit 40? Or, did you expect that kind of season from him? Or
Yeah, off air, I was like, wait, what? That was his first? Excuse me. I guess I just sort of assumed that he had already hit that. So definitely surprised that this is the first season. Nick, like you said, kind of no surprise with the forward group that he's got been able to work with in Toronto. So good for him. Obviously, that's good for the Leafs going into the playoffs, him being able to produce that much and score, reach, kind of a career high. So it'll be interesting to see. He was like the guy, obviously, for the Islanders. We don't really need to go into the whole, thing with their fans and all that stuff, but it'll be interesting to see his first, chance at, going at it for the Maple Leafs in the playoffs. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited for who they play potentially. I believe it's pretty much going to be Boston. It is, because there's no other team in there. The only other team in their division that's going to make the playoffs possibly is Montreal, and Montreal wouldn't play Boston or Toronto, so they're pretty much locked 1,000%. It's and it's great to see that. That is a good
it's about
series,
home ice, right?
Yeah, it's literally just about home. They both have 10 games left. Boston's got 4 points on them. It's literally about home ice at this point. I would assume safely that Boston would keep that 4-point lead the way Boston's been playing really well, but you never know. And it's just a series that's really great. You saw it in 2013. Sorry to the Leafs fans for kind of bringing it up, but it was a hell of a playoff series, and I'm excited to see.
They're so different now, though, I'd say. And
no, they are, but it's just
Kevin is 2 cents in here, but I mean, you got Nylander's in it now.
Yeah,
Tavares is in it now. Matthews in it.
Yeah.
Pat Pasternak. I mean, it
is. It's just the two fan bases and original six matchup. That kind of thing. The thing that stayed constant for the two teams. The hatred has always been there, always will be. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say those two teams are pretty much locked in to play each other round one. And in terms of, as far as it just being a fight for home ice, it seems like Boston's going to probably just solidify home ice for that series, especially because as of tonight, they're getting forward David Pasternak back. So they're playing some good hockey right now. And the Maple Leafs have actually struggled, pretty significantly recently. That's kind of been the story for them the whole year. They've been kind of up and down, and they've had their periods of, dominating teams, and then they've had small stretches of just being like really sluggish and just coming out really lazily. So hopefully they get hot at the right time, because the last thing you want to do is be playing your worst hockey against a really good team, especially when you don't have the luxury of being on your home ice for the majority of the series. So, they're incredibly deep team, obviously really talented. So they'll be able to figure their shit out. I would hope so. That piece of shit Babcock, as Mike Conver likes to say, hopefully he doesn't, run them into the ground before the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see it down the stretch and, how that playoff series starts.
Excellent point. Yeah. Toronto definitely has been struggling mightily. They had a couple big losses in a row to Tampa and then the Blackhawks. I think we were actually recording in the middle of the game last week. Or I guess maybe not. Well, they went down 5-0 after they lost like 6-2 to Tampa or whatever it was, and then they came back on the Hawks almost all the way, made 5-0, 5-4. But yeah, they have not been playing their best hockey lately, and they've essentially let Boston surpass them, and getting Pasternak back probably making this one trend towards Boston getting home ice in that series. I mean, that one's a lock. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Pasternak's obviously a huge piece for them up front. And then I looked at the schedule, and they actually don't even play each other again. So Toronto doesn't really have any head-to-heads to try to make up ground. They do have the tiebreaker. They actually have more regulation and overtime wins than Boston does right now. But, yeah, so a tiebreaker would most likely go to Toronto over the next 10 with the 10 games left. But, yeah, Boston, Toronto, great original six series. That'll be quite exciting, got to say. Speaking of exciting players in the NHL, this is going to really shock everybody, but Connor McDavid is really fucking good. And for the second time, we're going to bring up Vinny Lecavalier, because from November 3rd to from November 3rd to November 19th of 2007, he had 21 points in 8 games. But Vinny Lecavalier is the last NHL player to have an 8 or higher game consecutive team games multiple point streak. So he had 2 or more points in 8 or more consecutive games. I think it was 8 back in that 2007 season. And Connor McDavid is the first player to do that. McDavid has recorded multiple points in 8 straight games. So yet again, Connor McDavid doing Connor McDavid things. Just a real gong show out there in Alberta that they can't get this guy a better supporting cast. But I will say, for anyone who's watched any recent NHL highlights, fucking McDavid and Draisaitl in overtime is just, I would go as far as saying they are the best they're the best duo that we have in this 3-on-3 overtime. I mean, if they get the puck, it's over. It's just done.
Yeah, they're absolutely incredible, and I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with everything you said. It should be to no one's surprise that both of them have been doing this well, despite, as you said, the struggles. I think regardless of how, what their supporting cast is or how good or bad they are, the one consistent thing, or I should say the two consistent things in Edmonton are going to be those two. So really no surprise from my end. And, congrats to McDavid for the, for that stat, because that's incredible given the struggles that this team's been having, basically ever since they went to the Cup final, and lost. So, hopefully they can turn it around somehow. Eventually, you think they got to, but fuck.
Yeah, but with all the shit that they've, gotten, they're going their way, and it still hasn't, sort of flipped for them yet. Kind of makes me a little nervous going forward. It just sucks because, obviously, Connor McDavid's an incredibly gifted player, and he's so fun to watch. It just sucks that he's kind of stuck in this sort of shit situation. He's only got pretty much one other noteworthy player with him. He's going to be good, obviously, for years to come, but for the first 4 years of his career, one being shortened due to injury, but just it sucks not being able to see him on a bigger stage, see him play meaningful games into the summer, because it's just such a treat to watch him. And
we got to see him in the Olympics. Oh wait,
ooh,
yikes
at Gary Bettman. But yeah, it just sucks. I wish he was not playing at Edmonton. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I guess from an American standpoint, he's kind of like the Mike Trout of hockey, isn't he? Like Mike Trout will make it kind of topical. Mike Trout today signed a 12-year, $430 million extension with the Angels, and I mean, from an American standpoint, a lot of people on the East Coast aren't going to stay up and watch an LA Angels game. Trout's clearly the best player, in baseball. McDavid, obviously, I mean, Kucherov's having a better statistical season, but I think most people would probably say McDavid's the best player in the NHL going right now. And I mean, just a lot of people just don't have the pleasure of seeing him play on big stages, or you got to stay up really late, with Edmonton being, on the West, being in Western Canada. So, yeah. It's just one of those things where, man, we can just go on and on and on about it. But I didn't mean to turn it into an Oiler bash fest. But yeah, just wanted to point out the streak, and him and Draisaitl have been electric in OT. And but yeah, something's got to change there pretty soon. Trying to think what else we had in store. Oh, speaking of young talent. Not to brag, my Calder Calder Trophy winning prediction is going to probably come to fruition in the form of Canucks forward Elias Pettersson. He is at I think 61 points through 62 games. Vancouver with quite a big win over the Blackhawks last night as far as the playoffs go. Now Vancouver's not going to make it, but Blackhawks had some life. I think 5 in a row. We're going to get within 3 points of the Coyotes with a game in hand. But unfortunately, they shit themselves in overtime and played awful the first 40 minutes of the game, registering 14 shots. So I know we have a lot of, Chicago listeners listening, based on, our geography and everything like that. So figured we'd bring up the Hawks too, but we can talk about that. But actually, another funny thing happened involving Elias Pettersson that also relates to the playoff race, since they were playing Dallas. Is Pettersson had a penalty shot opportunity against Anton Khudobin of the Stars, and Khudobin went for a poke check and basically threw his stick, got the puck away from Pettersson, but there was a bit of an outcry because a lot of people thought, that should be a goal, right? You can't throw your stick on a penalty shot attempt. You can't throw it on a shootout attempt either, obviously. So I don't know if either of you guys have a chance to see a replay of it and have any thoughts on that, because it was kind of insane that they didn't see it live, and then it wasn't reviewed. So, I mean, fuck. I mean, you basically got away with murder. You got one of the best young forwards coming at you one-on-one. You just fucking – guess you're not cheating. You're not trying. But it was fucking – I thought it was kind of bizarre.
Yeah, when I saw it, I just kind of assumed that it was like an illegal thing to do because even Pedersen himself was just kind of like, what are you doing? So I just kind of like brushed it off. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty absurd, but obviously it's not going to count. But it fucking counted. Like I was dumbfounded. It was actually, I guess now I'm just reading, it was Dallas's first shootout of the year. So I feel like that's just kind of shocking in itself.
Oh, wasn't it a shootout? I said penalty shot. My mistake if it was.
Actually, it's possible that it was a penalty shot save. It ended up going to a shootout anyways, but all right, so I guess the two are not related. Anyways, just an absolutely absurd thing to do. That's kind of something you do like when you're playing hockey with your buddies. You just kind of like throw your stick at the puck when you don't want to play defense. At least that's what I do. So yeah, just kind of absurd, but like you said, Nick, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And they got the dub, so
yeah. I just took a look at it right now, and it kind of reminds me of it wasn't Lundqvist, it was the other goalie. It just happened with Ovi like a week or two ago. A little bit different of a poke check, but still the same thing. Like that they're not trying to throw the stick, or at least that I would say that's a fairly easy opinion to have, or they're not trying to do it, but it happens anyway. And yeah, usually it's considered a goal, an automatic goal. I think the difference between the two is that the Ranger goalie was completely down and out against Ovechkin. Like you were like, fuck, Ovi's going to score this if you're a Ranger fan, and somehow he didn't, and it's because the stick was thrown. Whereas this one was more of a straight up, he hadn't really made a move yet, and Khudobin had sort of start to go down as he went to go poke check, and it slid out of his hand. But still, you would think that, I don't know, you would think that would be a goal. No, like, I don't know. I don't know. To me, it probably should have counted just as a goal. Straight up.
I mean, it was pretty blatant. I think it should have been a goal.
Yeah. So just kind of interesting once again that with goalie stuff, goaltender interference has been the really big problem. How to interpret that rule. It's just funny again to see that there's again a difference of opinion or a difference of interpretation of the rule. Both goalies throw their stick, one gets penalized for it, and the other one doesn't. So it's just kind of interesting to see that again.
I'm not going to let Kevin slide on that comment about his own personal defense. I think we're going to call you the Rasmus Ristolainen of the podcast. Rasmus Ristolainen, quick green jacket update thanks to our pal Mike Commodore. Oh man! So Kami tweeted. So I just looked it up. Just wanted to confirm Kami's suspicions. Ristolainen's got a plus-minus lead of -7 on the next guy, which is actually Drew Doughty, if you can believe it or not. Drew Doughty's at a -30. But Ristolainen right now is at he's on a complete dog shit team. I mean, Doughty's still Doughty. And he plays big minutes for, he lugs big minutes for a real shit team. So what's to be expected? But just, man, that team is slow. Yeah, Kovalchuk's right there at -26. So, classic Kovalchuk. Just that as who was it? Oh my God, was it Roenick who said it during the one Olympics? Bringing the Euro trash game. So yeah, it goes for Kobe. But great tweet from Kami last night. I thought I'd share it. A little. I mean, we try to add some comedy to this, but he goes, "Good afternoon, folks. I know it's not quite the Masters week yet, but had to give a quick update. Rasmus Ristolainen from Turku, Finland is on an absolute heater on the 9, the green jacket. So here's his so he was a -2 at St. Louis a couple weeks ago, 0, -1 against Pittsburgh, 0 against Dallas, -1 against Colorado, 0. But here's where it gets fun. Last 5 games, -2 against Edmonton, -2 against Toronto, -1 against Pittsburgh, -3 against Philly, and -3 against Toronto. Holy fuck. What has happened to this gentleman? And honestly, what the fuck
What's happened to the Sabres, dude?
Yeah, what happened to the Sabres?
I was thinking about that before we started. I'm like,
they were buzzing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this to do with the goaltending is just not holding up with Hutton.
Yeah. That was like that was a huge thing going into the year
Dahlin
too.
and Eichel are having good seasons. Like Dahlin's having for a rookie year, like I think he's right at about 40 points. So I think he's right on the fringe of 10 goals. I think he's got 8 or 9, and he's got over 30. He's got 30 plus assists. So I think he's right there at about 40 points. But yeah, I mean, we're not trying to just pick on Ristolainen. We're just trying to have a little fun. But after Kevin talked about his lack of defensive efforts, but yeah, I'm not really sure what the hell happened to the Sabres, but I feel like it has a lot to do with Hutton. And then I also feel like they're a team that doesn't really have a ton of secondary scoring. I mean, once you kind of get outside of Reinhart and Eichel and potentially a guy like Middlestat, I mean, I think the quality really starts to kind of take a dip, but what do I know?
Yeah, they're just not a team that can, do the barn burner, 6-5, 5-4, sort of games, and that really shows. But, man, talk about falling off the wagon. Holy shit. Tough. A little tough.
Yeah, kind of sucks because I rode along with friend of the program, Mikey Grinelli, on his pick of Jack Eichel for the Hart Trophy. I'm like, you know what? I actually kind of like that pick. I'm going to ride with it. First, third of the year, it was looking pretty decent. And then just fucking whatever happened, they just started – well, they started playing like the Sabres that we've come to know and love in recent years. So they're back to being a relevant team.
They should bring back those Buffa Slug jerseys for the role they've been on recently, or lack thereof.
I mean, they need something.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Well, speaking of jerseys, actually, kind of cool, I think. I don't know if you guys like them or not. Always good to have a little embrace debate. But the Calgary Flames have apparently received permission, or I don't even know if that's the right way to put it, but let's just say they've opted to go with the retro red jerseys. I like to call them the McDonald's jerseys. I think they're absolutely fuego. Love the move. Love classic jerseys. Best look. There's talks. I think even the owner might have had some comments that they're potentially going to use those as their full-time jerseys within the next couple of years. And there's also been internet rumblings that they would make a white variation of the jerseys, kind of like how Pittsburgh went back to the black and gold, and then eventually they got the white jersey that matched it. So sounds like Calgary could be getting a new set. But any quick thoughts on Calgary going retro in the playoffs? Absolutely fucking love the move, but not sure if you did.
Fucking love it. Sorry. I was waiting for you to finish there, so my fuck got kind of extended out. Anyway, yeah, I fucking love it. These are one of the – I've always loved the Flames jerseys. I don't know what it is. I just really like their jerseys. I like the rink that they play in. I like the team. And so it's kind of nice to see that they're bringing it back from the year that they won the cup. So yeah, Kev, I know you're gonna love these Flames boys.
I love these jerseys so much. They're kind of like, I hate to say it, but the jerseys that the Blues wore for the Winter Classic. I think it was 2 years ago, like the kind of light blue ones, the
Powder
retros,
blues, yeah.
the powder blues.
They still rock those as they
yeah.
the third.
That's what I was gonna say, because after that, I think they did something where they started to wear them for like a handful of games the following year, and I wanted the Flames to do that with the McDonald's jerseys so badly because they're so sweet. They're like,
they don't wear them enough. They wear them still, but they don't wear them
but
enough.
like they have like they're vintage, but they can also look really good. The Penguins analogy is pretty much perfect. Those jerseys are so sick. I don't like the piping. I'm not a big piping guy on uniforms, and like the current Flames jerseys have, it's a little too techy for me. So
not a big piping guy, Kevin.
Yikes!
I was on a roll there, Nick. Thanks, but you know what I mean.
Nick, did you
tip the cap? That was a good one.
Did you say they were bringing another one back too, possibly?
No, that was just I brought up Pittsburgh as an example because there's internet rumblings that if they make the McDonald's / retro jerseys, if they get rid of their primaries and make their thirds, which are the retros, if they make those the primary home jersey that they would make a road/white variation of the jersey.
Okay.
That like so they're like, you know,
the other, I'm actually looking at their uniform like history right now. By the way, 2000s
the black one with the guy. Oh yeah.
No, just fucking tough on the jerseys in the mid 2000s. Just not a good look with the flaming horse and all that shit.
The flaming horse.
Oh god. God awful. Don't tell me you like them. They're awful.
The worst one is the one that literally says Calgary on
No, fuck off. That was the one I was going to talk about. The other home ones that they just got rid of like 2 years ago. Yeah, I like those. Fuck off, Nick. You fucking cucked both of us there. Holy.
Go
ahead, Kev. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know if you guys saw the AHL affiliate of the Coyotes, the Tucson Roadrunners. They just dropped their own Kachina jerseys, and they are dope.
Really?
Yes.
We will have to tweet out a picture off the
100%.
Flow Twitter account, which you can follow at GWTF podcast_. Yeah, we'll have to tweet out a picture of that because big fan of the Kachina jerseys. Now, hey, here's an idea. Arizona, we talked about them last week. They're playing well. They're currently in a playoff spot. Do I dare say Arizona rocks the Kachinas at whatever you call their arena in Glendale now?
Gila
River.
Arena? Yeah, there it is.
Gila River.
Yeah, you have to.
I think you got to.
Their other jerseys, I mean, I actually kind of like their other jerseys, but you got to rock the Kachina jerseys.
That would be unreal. The NHL should actually institute a rule that you got to go retro in the playoffs. Now that would be fun.
That would be fun.
First off, I'm looking at the Roadrunners one. Absolutely filthy. Not too sure on the shoulder part because there's a little bit of the red still. But yeah, as far as the Yotes go, please bring those back. I miss those. Those are filthy. That's really all I have to say about that. But yeah, that would be sick if you, because you could get the Ducks won't make the playoffs, but you could get, you know, the Mighty Ducks jerseys back. You could get Dallas wearing the fucking North Stars, even though they're in Dallas and not Minnesota.
It's all right.
Those would be filthy. You could get the Sharks wearing like a California Golden Seal jersey.
The old Winnipeg Jet sweaters.
Oh,
yes,
filthy.
Yeah. Like when they were in the WHA or
yeah.
Those would be sick.
Why don't they wear those instead of that stupid powder blue jersey that says Jets?
I don't know.
Those are so dumb.
Yeah, those are dumb. Fucking Hartford, like Carolina wore them against Boston. Those were absolutely.
We did talk about that because Jack Edwards has a boner for the Whalers, and I have no idea what's going on.
What if Winnipeg wore like the fucking Thrashers jersey? I mean, I know it wouldn't work because the mascots are completely different, and you know, I don't know. I'm just bringing back.
And Winnipeg play each other in the playoffs. Just wear Jets jerseys.
That's true.
I was kind of a fan of the light blue Thrasher jerseys.
Oh,
I
remember those.
Those were weird though because they had like a stripe on one sleeve that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Other than that, they were pretty tight. Not gonna lie. Yeah. Trying to think.
Great.
A lot of good possibilities here. Get some Kachina jerseys.
The fisherman jerseys for the Islanders.
Oh,
those are nice.
I was actually, when you said the Stars, Dallas Stars, do you guys remember, this is a wild one. Do you remember their black alternate that had that like cow?
Yes, but it was like the star constellation.
Yes,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That thing was so weird.
I don't know, but yeah, that thing was just weird. That'd be funny just to see them wear that for a game. I would love that personally. I don't think that that's something they should bring back, but those were kind of funky.
I actually have a brilliant marketing idea for fucking Adidas. This is free from my brain. So the NBA did this thing this year where every team, fuck the NBA. So yeah, don't steal anything from them other than their TV ratings, NHL. But the 16 teams that made the postseason last year, which were probably the same 16 that made it the year before, they each were given an alternate jersey. It was like since they made the playoffs, they were rewarded with their fan base was rewarded with the opportunity to buy another $300 authentic jersey, right? So But my idea would be like maybe if the teams that make the playoffs or something, you can maybe not force them to wear alternates in the playoffs or wear throwbacks, but maybe like you can they get a I don't know, you could have those teams have a game where they get to wear a throwback for no reason. I don't know. I think it's good to have. I think the reason people like throwbacks, and I know it's gonna maybe people don't think about it first, but it's kind of cool to see two teams playing each other in like color. Like you don't really see that in the NHL. It's always like a team in white versus a team in a dark jersey. But I think it's kind of cool. You see it in baseball even where teams are not. It's not like one team's wearing gray and the other team's wearing white or dark. Like sometimes you get hell, fucking Game 7 of the World Series with the Cubs. The Indians were in navy blue and the Cubs were in baby blue. I mean, that was kind of weird, but I mean, what's wrong with seeing a team in red play a team in yellow or green?
I was just going to say that exact color combination too, because if the Kings ever make it back to the playoffs and this rule was in effect, you could have the Flames wearing their red ones from the McDonald years, like the ones that they're going to bring back for the playoffs. And then you could have the fucking LA Kings where they had in the 80s, their home one was a purple one and their away one was a yellow one, or vice
the ones
versa.
With the crown, those are so dumb.
Oh, fuck off.
Hey, yeah.
I hate those.
No, but think about it. You could have yellow on one fucking bench and bright-ass red with a white C on one other bench. I mean, it might give you a little bit of a headache, but it'd be kind of worth it.
The only thing is, and this is kind of an obscure comment, but does anyone remember the NFL color rush between the Bills and the Jets where the colorblind people couldn't tell who was on what team?
Oh, God. That's bad.
They did I think it was Deadspin. Don't want to really give them a shout out. Not really the biggest fan of them. But they did a video simulation of there was like a fumble and a mad scramble, and there's just all these people in one congested area of the camera shot in the field, and they were like, this is what it looked like to see a bunch of green people in green jerseys versus a bunch of people in red jerseys all going after a fumble, and you just if you were colorblind, you just couldn't tell shit.
Oh, God, that sucks. I didn't even think of that. That's a good point.
But, I mean, not to discriminate, but, I mean, we can't really.
Wouldn't there be a thing on your TV setting, though, that you could fix? Like, you can do that in video games. You can do that in video games, I know. Like, you can literally, change. It's not even like a TV setting. It's
all possibilities here.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I'm trying to. I wasn't thinking of colorblind fans watching and how frustrating that would be. But there's got to be something on the TV that would, cater to the varying degrees of colorblindness. You would think that in 2019, TV companies would think of that. I hope. I don't know.
I want to say it was either for a video game or for an actual TV. There's a literal colorblind setting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know Call of Duty has it. I don't know if the game that I play really has it. I'm actually looking right now. Video. No, this one doesn't have a colorblind setting. Never mind. But I know Call of Duty has it. Anyway, getting off topic a little bit, but.
Yeah, should we wrap up real quick with we promised, we alluded to it. I think I brought it up for a brief second. Real quick, are the Chicago Blackhawks dead?
Yes.
Kevin?
Considering the teams are in front of them, it's really hard to say yes because, I can easily envision a scenario in which the teams in front of them slip. But, I mean, it just seems like the Hawks are out of gas at this point. They have a pretty tough schedule to finish out the year, so.
But they do play. I'm playing devil's advocate between both of you. Yes, they're probably dead. But at the same time, I know what you're saying, Kevin, and they have a 3-game stretch where it's a home and home against the Avalanche, and then they have a game in Glendale against the aforementioned Yotes. So their last 4 games are a real tough one, but – real tough stretch there, but I think they've got Winnipeg and St. Louis and Dallas and Nashville in there, I believe, are their last 4, just going off the top of my head there, honestly. But that sounds right. I don't know if you guys have any objection to that claim. But, yeah, I think they have the right matchups. But you know what? When you look at this team, we talked about it off the air last night in our little group chat, and this team is probably going to miss the playoffs, and there's a few reasons why. Crawford's health, number 1. 2, You can't have separate 8-game losing streaks in a season and expect to make the playoffs. And then within the last couple of weeks where they've had life and they've been on these really good streaks, they've had a couple games where they've just come out flat against teams that, quite frankly, they should have beaten pretty soundly. The way Vancouver's played recently, you can't play that lethargic for the first 40 minutes, register 14 shots, then not even touch the puck in overtime. That can't happen. And then they lost to the lowly Kings. Went down 3-0, tied at 3-3, and then gave up 3 more in a row. I wonder if the Kings have even scored 6 in a game since. Probably not. So you can't come out and have that happen. So I'm going to side with Dan and say they're dead, but I know exactly what Kevin's saying, and the fan in me is like, you know what? They're only 4 points back, and they've got this. They're playing the right teams down the stretch or maybe I shouldn't say that they're playing all the right teams, but it helps them that they play Colorado twice and they play Arizona again. I would say that. The other thing, too, is they might actually need to finish a point ahead because based on the number of regulation and overtime wins they have, which is the first tiebreaker, if they actually tie, they might not make it. I don't envision them winning any tie-breaking scenarios against any of the teams ahead of them. So they've got their work cut out for them. But I know we got a lot of Chicago listeners, so I figured we'd mention that. But, yeah, I think we'd be singing a different tune had they gotten a second point last night, but obviously didn't happen.
I think if they lose one of the 2 games in the home and home, it's over. Like those are 2 – you have to come out 2-0 on that weekend.
Yeah,
absolutely. You don't even want to give them a point.
Well, you're going to – yeah. I mean, like we said, you're going to need help from other teams, and if you're splitting that, you're not really doing yourself any favors. It's got to be one of those things where they have to absolutely win the games that they need to win, and maybe, steal a couple, and then they need help from someone else too, I feel like. And I just don't envision it. I was on B. Frank's podcast, B. Frank, B. Fox show.
Probably let me be Frank's sports family.
Yes. And Brian asked me, gun to my head, this is like 2.5, maybe even longer ago, gun to your head, did the Hawks make the playoffs? I said no. That was when Crawford was injured, but even now still, I'm sticking by it, and I will until the end of the season. So, yeah,
and I guess just one more quick point. We've ragged on Stan Bowman on here before, and we ragged on Peter Chiarelli, but the Western Conference this year is the playoffs are very accessible. Okay, yeah, obviously the teams at the top right now, like, Winnipeg, Nashville, San Jose, Vegas, Calgary, those are damn good teams. But those last couple wild card spots, this is a year where the seasons McDavid and Kane are having, these teams have to fucking be in the playoffs. And it's really just an indictment of the supporting cast. For the Hawks, mainly it's the defense they're trotting out there. And for Edmonton, it's just the lack of scoring outside of McDavid and Draisaitl, and pretty much everything else on the team is donkey shit. But it's pretty sad for just the NHL in general, honestly, that, really, no offense, but no, I don't think anyone's dying to see Arizona in the playoffs. Not that they're not fun, but, man, this was a great opportunity for McDavid or Kane to get back in the playoffs, and with the seasons they're having, and even, a guy like DeBrincat, who, American kid, it'd be great for the NHL for him to get some more national exposure, because, he's having a great year. He's on the way to 40 goals, so, just an indictment of some bad management in Chicago and Edmonton, if I say so myself, that they're each missing the playoffs this year, because, Arizona's making it we talked last week, they've had over 300 man games missed. That's just bad. So, but anything else, boys? Do we have any what the pucks this week? I know it was a little bit of a quiet week. I didn't really, no suspensions or anything. So I don't know if you guys saw anything interesting in the media or anything like that. But if we don't have a what the puck this week, hopefully we'll save it up for twice as good of a segment next week. And don't know if Dan, Kevin, if you guys have any final thoughts before we sign off for this week's epi.
No, I think we've kind of covered everything pretty well. It's fun to talk about jerseys, kind of the lighter side of hockey as well. But it's always fun to have those kind of conversations and hear everyone's opinions. But yeah, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I think that's about it for now.
Yeah. So next time we talk, we'll have a think, a better idea of the playoff push. Maybe we'll have a couple more matchups solidified, or just teams will, finally pull away, for seeding purposes or for just locking down a spot in general. So maybe I think by next week we'll have a better look at the playoff picture. Hopefully, maybe a little more clarity, or in the case of the bottom of the Western Conference, maybe things get more convoluted. But at any rate, thanks for listening. Obviously, we're on iTunes, Spotify. Rate us, subscribe us. Send us any feedback. You're welcome to DM the Twitter account, comment on tweets, leave feedback on anything. Of course, follow the Twitter account, GWTF podcast _. Follow Let Me Be Frank Sports. We got we know you guys are sports fans outside of just hockey. Follow us there at, Let Me Be, just be Frank, blog.com. And at LMBF Sports on Twitter. So, boys, thanks for joining me, and thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of your weeks, boys.
See you later, fellas.
All right, thanks. See you.
Peace, boys and girls.